Test, test. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining me. I hope you are gearing yourselves up to have a wonderful weekend, and I hope your last work day of the week is treating you well. We're gonna hop in and watch the Star Citizen Live that they released at a Bar Citizen in Beijing last week. They pre-recorded it, obviously, for today, but they showed it first to the Beijing crew. It's going to be Jared Huckabee talking to John Cruz a bit about ship stuff for Invictus. So let's kick back and watch this together and enjoy. There are some things in here that I know about in advance. Obviously, they're going to touch on the Idris, which is out in game as of yesterday, right? So anyway. Let's hop in and take a look and see what Jared and John have to say. And after that, we'll jump into the game and make sure some of our ships are in order the way we like them. And we'll hop off and do some of the new combat missions for a little while today, okay? All right, let me kill the music here for the moment. There we go. Got rid of that. And we'll fire up the YouTubes and see what we got to see. Good morning, babe. All right, kick back for some Star Citizen Live. I may pause a little bit here and there and talk about some of the things they say. Otherwise, we'll watch this through together. There are some parts in here that I may just skip through to get onto our gameplay today, but we'll see. We'll see how it fares and how discussion goes. So firing it up right now. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special
Hello,
pre-taped
Jared
edition of
Huckabee.
Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. I'm going to assume that you've seen Star Citizen Live before in a rare first-time thing, so I'm not going to explain what the show is. Should I explain what the show is? I can't change my format. I have to explain what the show is. It's where we take about 30 minutes out of our time to sit down with one of our CIG developers and make them answer questions from you, the Star Citizen community. In this case, our wonderful Chinese community. Somebody, I didn't get the name, sent us a massive, wonderful list of questions covering a huge variety of topics. Obviously, it's while we're hard at work getting the next release of Star Citizen out, working towards the closing of Squadron 42, whatnot. We can't pull a whole bunch of people necessary to get that full breadth of questions that you guys sent out. We were able to snag longtime friend and human meat puppet vehicle director John Crew on the show. John, say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Human meat puppet here.
Human meat puppet here to answer your questions related to vehicles and vehicle gameplay and stuff. So with that, we're going to jump right in because I imagine there's a bunch of people sitting in a big convention hall and everything, probably don't got the most comfortable chairs and like, all right, Jared, just get to it. What if we told a story right now? Would that be? No, okay, we'll get right to it. So, vehicle gameplay questions from the Chinese community with John Crew. In questions in no particular order. Right off the bat, will there...
Oh my god, the Superman toy in the front. I did not notice that when I saw pieces of this last week. I remember that toy. I remember his spaceship. Sorry, that's totally off track, but oh my god. That's a piece of history right there. Of course, Superman would have a ship with two steel fists sticking out of it. Anyway.
be more types of ground vehicles?
Yes. There's obviously we have a range of ground vehicles at the moment, but they're pretty much a select few manufacturers and either wheeled tank tracks and a couple of hover ones, but they don't really cover the full range. Like I know you've had Alberto on SCL in the past doing like
the chopper,
the chopper, and like the Origin hover tank. And I'm not going to say which ones we want to do, but we do want to do more in the sort of gaps we have. Like let's say, combat hover vehicles rather than transport ones.
Yeah, I've always had the. I feel like we've been doing this for 10 years now. I feel like at some point you and I have had casual conversations about some kind of like mobile base that kind of hovers around, like a floating platform with doors and rooms.
Now
and stuff.
that would be
something
cool.
more akin to a ship's to a proper ship size, like a Cutlass size or a Freelancer size, but ground and hovering. You know, so I always remember, you know, I grew up with GI Joe and stuff, and those mobile base things, like the Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder would be a great name, by the way, especially if it hovers, would just really confuse people. Something like that. I think there's a lot of room for that kind of thing.
It's definitely something we've talked about and looked at in the past. We have obviously ground vehicle garages and we have ship hangars, and the slight problem that has always somewhat interfered with that plan of a larger ground vehicle is our ground vehicle garages aren't big enough. Our ship hangars are, but not necessarily every ship hangar you can hover or drive a vehicle out of.
Especially not the ones with the
especially the ones with the ceiling exits. So it's coming up with a solution to that, and then we could have maybe not. I always forget the film with the big roving cities.
Mortal Engines.
Mortal Engines. I'm not gonna say that big, but
probably not.
Probably not that big.
But we've both been here long enough. Never to say never, ever. Plus, I think if we're being real candid and honest, I think we need more gameplay systems that utilize ground vehicle technologies. There's a couple. I was just had a meeting with Rick Porter, design director for the PU. Last week, where I wanted to pitch, like, if we get, when weather comes online and stuff, being able to keep ships out, but having like giant Sturgis style hog wild kind of events that require hundreds of ground vehicles in place and stuff would be super cool. And that's just casual conversation between me and the design director. It's not a commitment to an idea, but it's just I think there's a lot more we can do to incentivize the use of ground vehicles.
Yeah, we have a lot of ground vehicles at the moment, but there isn't a lot of use, and the use they have sometimes is not ideal. Yeah.
So when we can incentivize that use more, then I think it'll be a natural kind of progression. Let's find out what other kind of ground vehicles we can add.
So I was talking to the wife yesterday about this very thing. There may not be like ground combat or ground vehicle type missions, which could be cool. If they have AI that works with ground vehicle to ground vehicle combat, that would be something that was really neat. But right now there is actually gameplay if you want it. I just don't think people are utilizing it. And it could be me. Maybe these things aren't feasible. Maybe some people know things that I don't. But for example, when an organization or a group of players get together and they do the mine and align stuff and open the cave in Hathor, when they defend that cave, it's typically just a bunch of ships hanging around. And there's no reason you can't do it that way. Maybe it's just a convenience thing, but for folks that are really, really wanting to use these things that have been in the game for a long time, why not take your C2 out as intended, or your M2, your A2, load up your Spartans, load up some Nova tanks. The tanks maybe not so much in this scenario, unless we had people that wanted to RP and do like a ground assault on you while you were doing that. But like the Spartans, we've got all kinds of anti-air stuff here. Big weapons that can be fired at ships that are passing by, creating like different kinds of engagements, missile launchers, and even a troop deployment vehicle. So I don't know why we don't use some of those. People paid good money for those in game, or even bought them in game for AUEC. Use them. I encourage you to use them. I will certainly be experimenting with hauling some of the different weird ground vehicles around more often in the verse, and finding situations where I might deploy them to use some like unexpected tactics. I think some of that is up to us. We sit on this fantasy that we want to live in space and live out our little space lives and do our little space things. Let's put I challenge you and myself to put our money where our mouth is and actually use these vehicles. Find a use for them. show them that they can be used in applications and how. I know it's the sandbox element, right? We have to create this gameplay ourselves, but let's show them, and record it, throw it up on YouTube. I'll do the same, and try to get CIG's attention and show them you guys created some cool stuff here. Put some more work into it, making them more stable and easy to transport. Because wow, look at this, we found a use for it. Or at least we can get them out there in the verse and actually start using them and debunk my theory completely, and show them that they either need to move away from the idea or really embrace it and give it some love. Just an idea. And mark my words, I will start doing this. I will. I plan on picking up the Asgard during Invictus here. And even if I don't do that, I can throw some stuff into C2 and move it around and start playing with it a little bit. And I'll definitely get it on video and put up some YouTube shorts or something like that.
Yeah. This like that. All right. How do you design ship living quarters? What equipment and features are essential for gold standard?
So in terms of gold standard, living quarters really depends on the role of the ship. Obviously, some ships don't have living quarters, and that really is a soft gate for how far and long you can use that ship. If you don't have living quarters, eventually food, drink, hygiene, and I guess tiredness sort of become your limiting factors. So if you want a ship to go a long distance, you need living quarters. And then they come in different scales. We have the bare bones one with beds that currently let you log in and out. Beyond that, if you have food, you need somewhere to get rid of the food when it's being processed. So they all have toilets or showers. And then for the more grandiose and luxurious ships, you go from here's a bunk bed with a food machine in the wall and you sit and eat your food or stand and eat your food, to you have a room which has a seat, bed, toilet. Military ships follow real world military ships in that everyone doesn't have their own quarters. You have bunk rooms with shared mess and galley, all the way up to luxury ships like the 890 where everyone has essentially their own apartment with everything in it. So it really depends on the role of the ship and the type of the ship. And it's got to have a bed. If it has food, it's got to have toilets. If it's a toilet, it might as well have a shower there as well.
And this is all in preparation for gameplay systems that will
Yes.
come online.
Yeah, at the moment, they're very much role play things. And we spend a lot of time internally arguing about toilets and showers.
Yeah. We're not going to put a when on this, but
Yeah.
if by the time your time here is done and my time here is done, if we don't have poop gameplay, I'm going to be...
Yeah. There'll be one other director who will be very upset about that as well if we don't have that.
This is the face of somebody who wants poop gameplay. And Chris, if you're there watching, I'm sorry. On the other side of this, single-seat fighters,
Yeah.
who obviously don't have living quarters or anything. Will single-seat fighters and similar ships allow for in-cockpit eating and drinking? This is... I love
Great
seeing this question
question.
right now because there's this, this thing that happens where, you're running, you're getting your ship, you're having to take off to clear an LZ or whatever.
Oh, crap, I need
you
a
didn't
drink.
get a chance to stop and top up your vitals beforehand. And there's nothing worse than you're flying in your Avenger or whatever and you die of thirst.
Dying of thirst, yeah.
Because you can't pop a cerveza.
Don't drink and fly.
Yeah. Well. So, will single-seat fighters and similar ships allow cockpit drinking and eating?
For me personally, yes, that is something I want. Ultimately, that is not my area of responsibility. It's more of a overall game direction thing. But I don't see why we wouldn't allow that in the future.
Are there plans for more ship weapon types? Obviously, we're seeing in the FPS weapons, the Volt weapons, which we talked about for a while, are finally making their journey from Squadron to the PU. Are there additional ship weapon types that are percolating in someone's head here?
There are a couple that, if I get my dates right, people will be seeing very soon in game. Again, things trickling from Squadron into Star Citizen. Beyond that, we haven't really looked into new weapon types. It's more expanding the range of the existing ones. So at a very simplistic level, we have ballistic ones, we have energy ones, and distortion ones. And then within that, you have cannons, repeaters, Gatlings, and we have gaps in those lineups because you also have the size ranges within that. So it's filling those out, giving them different flavors first before we chuck in another archetype.
For me, I mean, obviously, I'm a Star Wars guy and whatever, but my affinity for Star Trek has always made me want beam weapons. We talk about beam weapons. I feel like it comes up every year. And maybe not for you don't want to see a Gladius flying around with a beam out of its nose or whatever. But for these larger ships, like a Hammerhead and above, the ability to have like beams and whatever would just be such a cool visual. And that's one of the things I every once in a while I just kind of hope. I'm like, is this the year of beam weapons?
I think this is the year of beam weapons.
Oh, you think this is the year of beam weapons? I faked a reaction there. I was aware that it's a year of beam weapons. Can ballistic weapons have quick magazine swaps? Currently, their sustainability is limited to resupply.
That was a little bit of a teaser last week that the Idris is coming, and she's got a big size 10 laser as an option. Again, that's not so much of a spoiler or a teaser at this point because she's floating in the verse and you can firsthand see a beam weapon at work, which, by the way, looks awesome taken on a Polaris. Another side note there, in the combat I've seen with the Idris, the Polaris is not a pushover. The Idris versus the Polaris, it doesn't seem like the Idris is in any danger at any point during a fight like that, but you don't just like roll up and one shot the Polaris. It takes a little bit. It takes a few shots from that gun, repeated turret and missile fire, and eventually she goes down. But it's really epic to watch because it's a good time to kill balance from what I've seen so far. And you could imagine if you had multiple Polaris against an Idris, things could get interesting, especially if it had the right support with some hammerheads and some other gunships to focus on the Idris. I see like really good potential there, but it was fun, very fun watching an Idris take down a Polaris for the first time. And like I said, very impressed that the Polaris didn't just lay down and take it.
Or full weapon replacement. Is this intentional for balancing energy in ballistic weapons?
Yes, that is something we definitely want to do. Chris mentioned this to me again last week before. Going back to the previous topic about filling in the gaps, we're looking at filling in some of those gaps, and some of them are ballistic ones. And as part of the design for them, they do have, or will have, physical magazines that you can reload. So if they're on the outside of, say, your Gladius, maybe Gladius is a bad example, let's go Avenger, when they run out, you will need to go and restock. Well, if you brought spare magazines or ammo housings with you, you can go replace them. A friend could go replace them with their supplies. Not every ship will be like that. It's not, say, practical on a Hammerhead to have all 24 guns ballistic and someone's going to spend all their time outside the ship, EVAing around in combat trying to plug magazines in. For some ships, they will have essentially an internal reloading mechanism, and that will take the format of there will be a designated area in the ship which should hopefully be near the cargo supply. And it's similar to how base building will work in that you'll be taking your resources, in this case, boxes of ammo, feeding it into the machine, which will put it into the ship's internal storage, and then the ship itself will resupply to the weapons that need it. So rather than you having to manage 24 individual magazines, someone will just be feeding the crates of ammo in as needed.
My understanding is that that's the only real reason to have children.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't change.
Sometimes I think, especially like in Beijing, I wonder what they were thinking. Jared's jokes can be a little flat sometimes. I thought it was funny, but it's good to hear them talk about that. One thing that John talks about with an ammo system like that is so many times it seems like when we set a new bar and Star Citizen, oh, we're going to do this, it gets really weird and complex, like way up high. And although those systems are supposed to be refined at some point, it seems like they stay in game at that iteration for an awfully long time, and they can get very, very tedious. I have no problem with creating like multi-crew roles on a ship, so you have to have somebody that's there to restock the ammo. But thank goodness they're looking at it at this level instead of like way up here. I think it makes a lot more sense. Like who in God's name wants to run around a ship literally individually supplying every set of turrets on some of these multi-crew ships? I mean, maybe that's if that's your fantasy in this game, I'm sorry that I'm bagging on it, but I would hope that everyone would find that kind of tedious. So to have that station covered, but you're just, hey, here's crates of ammo. I'm putting them in a hopper and the ship distributes them. I'm glad at least they're thinking like that and not getting so granular that it loses any aspect of fun, right?
Change because it's private for the Chinese community. Um, can the Mobi-Glass ship interface include remote control of doors, elevators, and cargo ramps? So we've been talking about that for years.
Desperately want this to be a thing, pushing on it internally. Again, it's not directly in my wheelhouse, so it's subject to other teams' schedules and directions. But yes, being able to lock, open doors from your Mobi-Glass for your ship.
Yeah,
and that's huge. I know right now we have a couple of little bugs associated with the feature they unlocked to quantum to your own ships now. Consequently, if you don't know what that bug is, if you have both ships out and you bed log in one of them, and then come back, it breaks the QT to your own ship feature. Hopefully that'll be fixed soon. So it kind of sucks. Like if you have a play session, you can QT back and forth all you want, but at the end of the session, you kind of need to pack it in and go home. But it won't be stuck like that forever. So hopefully, like I said, we'll see those changes soon. But anyway, with that kind of gameplay introduced now, to be, say, in your Prospector, basing yourself out of your C2 or your Polaris or Idris or whatever the case is, it'd be nice that when you pull up and say your Prospector to the rear ramp of your C2, it'd be great to have that little key fob, bleep, bleep, open up your C2 as you're approaching, and then just go right through the process of pulling your bags off and swapping them out or whatever you want to do.
It's hard. At the beginning of this year, and this is a good time as any to reiterate this. At the beginning of this year, we had Benoit on and talked about the big change in focus of this year. This year's focus for feature teams is on closing Squadron 42 out and improving stability and performance without introducing the stability and hits that come with new features. We don't know how long that's going to last, but we're definitely still in that period right now where we're still refining, we're still fixing up the PU, stuff like this, So it's not a anytime soon kind of thing. Just to put a little expectations management on it. But a lot of these things, we've got this laundry list. There's things that we're all chomping at the bit.
I know that the team that's doing it has a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that players have asked for, like the 3D landing camera on the radar. Like they're doing that before this.
Yeah, but it's always been, it's the choice in years previous has always been go to the new feature, and this year we've made the choice to go to stability, to go to performance like this, and that benefit is very apparent already, and there's still more work to do, and there's still more that we're going to continue to do. So while it can sometimes be hard to accept the weight for this thing that everybody wants and whatnot, I still think it's the right decision this year, and I think a lot of folks would probably agree. This focus on stability and performance this year is paramount, and then the eye of development so on will turn back to new features for the PU at some point. Can weapon and missile hardpoints carry other tools like fuel tanks or electronic pods?
That is something, not those two specific things in particular, but again, not to give too much away, but in the very near future, we're going to start experimenting with some alternative options for what missile racks can carry.
Right. Yeah, you're of course talking about Invictus launcher.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll see a couple new items that you can swap out, both on the exterior.
Again, this is not a surprise at this point. They have they have shown this already in launch week. What they're talking about specifically is the bomb racks that are available, and I don't know if there's any others. Well, the Idris has a new option to kit her out with torpedoes, as opposed to the old K kit that was available that added the spinal gun. Um, but they added the bomb racks, and they added what is it? Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. I almost lost it. The missile. They added a missile launcher option for the top of your Scorpius. I have some curious questions about that popped up in my head this morning. I'm wondering if that missile rack is co-pilot controlled, or if that is slave to the pilot. Still would love to see the Scorpius follow suit with the Super Hornet and do the exact same thing when you don't have a co-pilot or somebody in that gunner seat, that set of guns is slaved to the pilot. That would make the Scorpius like right up there as a competitive heavy fighter class with the rest of them. And she's not a slouch as it is, but really when you turn that top turret on, that's where it super, super shines. And I think it would be okay to have that just locked in place as a forward-facing 2 additional guns. It gets a little hairy when you talk about things like what is it, the Hurricane, because that's like a quad. That's like an additional 4 guns if you do that one. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing that either, and that would kind of put that one in the same class with the F8. Wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, in my opinion. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see where that sort of stuff goes. But I'm hoping to pick up some bomb racks. I just haven't decided what ship I would use them on, and go experiment with some bombing runs. Just jacking some stuff up that's on the ground and seeing how that works from a fighter platform and if it's fun. Just curious.
Ships on
Yep.
hard points and interior.
Yep.
Some component upgrades and stuff. So look out for that.
Yeah, it's getting very confusing filming this in advance before
Sorry.
flying to be here with everyone in this room wherever I am.
Oh yes. Say something to future you.
Hello, please get a haircut before you go to China.
Currently, marine seats on ships feel underutilized. Will they have unique functions in the future?
Assuming this is
Drop seats.
Yes, they sort of do already, but it's sort of underutilized or unnoticed feature in that we do impart G-forces onto loose actors within ships. So for drop ships, if you have 20 people crammed in the back of a Valkyrie and the pilot does a hard turn, you're all ragdolling and falling over. It doesn't happen really as much as we want or the way we want it. It's very binary at the moment, like big impulse happens, everyone falls over. Whereas the way Chris has talked to me about it is your gravity generator on ships, which is not yet a physicalized item but will be, sort of lags in its compensation of gravity. So rather than it being too much gravity, everyone fall over, it's hard turn, gravity's failing, everything starts getting loose, and if it continues, then people start not necessarily falling over, but almost like EVAing inside the ship because the gravity cannot keep up with the force and the directions. So then being sat in the seats, you're not having to deal with any of that. But the counter of that is we want to make dropships be more utilized. At the moment, they're probably not tanky enough to, they don't have enough health to survive the drop in versus other ships. So we've got to bump that up to get people using them.
Dropships are literally the living manifestation of putting all your eggs in one basket.
They need to survive the drop for people to bother using.
So I agree wholeheartedly with what they say if you want to use dropships in an actual dropship scenario, which isn't the way I use them necessarily. But I find it weird. And now the Asgard hasn't actually hit as the purchasable vehicle yet. So we can't put our hands on it. All we can do is assume that the stats on like SP Viewer and Urkel are correct. And most of the time they are. What I'm getting at is if they are correct, they just spent some time on the Valkyrie and upped her health, increased her maneuverability a bit. looking at the stats for the Asgard, it's kind of confusing to me. Here we have John saying, and he's director of this team, right? We have John saying that we really need to up the health and tankiness of these vehicles. While I agree that the increase in the health pool for the Valkyrie has really stepped up to contribute to what he's talking about, um, the Asgard, which is literally built on the same platform and just altered a bit, has slightly less health than the Valkyrie, and that almost doesn't make sense to me. The increase in size alone, in some areas of that framework, um, to me would suggest, if nothing else, a little more HP than the Valkyrie. So I just find it funny that he makes that comment. Yet when they put this ship together, and again, I know all these stats are adjustable for them, but when they put this ship together, um, it's one of those moments where I feel like there's a small disconnect someplace. Like, yeah, oh, we definitely need to make these, beefier. Here's one that is literally built off of this platform. It's kind of bigger in some ways, but the HP fell a little bit below. It's not staggering. I think it's like maybe 15,000 or so. It's not an earth-shattering difference, but it begs the question as to why. And I'm curious if they'll end up putting that at least exactly the same as the Valkyrie, if not just a little bit above instead.
Using them, so it's a sort of cyclical thing.
The Zeus's design is impressive, especially the interior. Will the Galaxy follow a similar style? Boy, I hope so.
Yes, obviously we talked about at CitizenCon doing the RSI ships in sort of sequence. So we've done the Polaris, doing the Perseus at the moment, and then the Galaxy will be after. The difference in the Galaxy is it's a civilian ship. It's not the RSI military theme. So the Polaris and Perseus share a lot of visual cues together and materials and lighting. It does take bits from the Zeus, but not everything. And you will see more of the Zeus styling in the Galaxy, and other RSI ships this year will have that Zeus aesthetic rather than the Polaris and Perseus one.
Yeah, I love that. The RSI interior, the Zeus interior. You know, personally, I'm not a big fan of the Dorito shape, but the interior just knocked me on my butt.
Yeah.
And what I love the Zeus interior, so it's good.
Let me back up just a touch here.
And Perseus one.
Yeah, I love that. The RSI interior, the Zeus interior.
Perseus share a lot of visual cues together and materials and lighting. It does take bits from the Zeus, but not everything. And you will see more of the Zeus styling in the Galaxy, and other RSI ships this year will have that Zeus aesthetic rather than the Polaris and Perseus.
Okay. So I picked up on he said this year, and I had to go back a couple clicks and like verify what he was talking about, because it's my understanding that the Galaxy, we don't have an ETA on that. We're not even sure if that's going to be a pre 1.0 thing. So with him saying this year, I thought a light bulb went off for me. I was like, oh, does that mean that we might see the Galaxy this year? He said other RSI ships though. So I know they're talking about some sort of medium range ship, possibly salvage or something like that they've mentioned before. He could be implying that, its design aesthetic will pull on the Zeus more. Or maybe it's possible he meant the Apollos, which we could see sooner than later, right? Yeah, there's no talk at all, Sabrina, that the Galaxy would be released. It's just that when he was talking about it in that sentence, he said this year, and I know he means as they design things, but he said as you'll see this year. So I have a feeling he's referring to the Apollos. I'm gonna have to guess. Anyway, I was hoping it was the Galaxy, but I could not infer that from what he was saying. Plus, I'm not trying to dig into what's said in some of these casual interviews, right? Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt that it's going to pull. Like he said, it's a civilian ship. It's no doubt at all. He's actually said that verbatim, that it will pull its stylings more from the Zeus than like the Polaris and the Perseus share. But I just got hung up on this year. As you'll see, this year I was like, was he talking about the Galaxy? No, he wasn't specifically. Darn it.
This one.
Yeah, I love that the RSI interior.
But yes,
the
it will
Zeus
use
interior.
that styling.
Yeah,
we know that.
Personally,
which
I'm
is
not
cool.
a big fan of the
We love the
Dorito
Zeus.
shape, but the
I even
interior
love the
just
Dorito shape.
knocked me on my butt.
Yeah.
And what I love the Zeus interior. So
Triangles are cool.
You mentioned the Perseus. I read on Reddit that that's coming in Invictus this year.
It's not.
Pythagorean for life.
Don't believe everything.
Will ships like the Caterpillar and Kraken have cargo lift functionality? Loading and unloading on the ground is currently cumbersome. The Caterpillar is an interesting.
The Caterpillar is an interesting pain point. So we recently changed the side doors to go down to the ground to sort of improve that, and it sort of improved some things, made other things worse. That's not how we want to do it. I think retrospectively, if we were designing the Caterpillar today, it would not have doors like that.
Knowing what we know today versus what we knew in 2013.
So we're sort of hamstrung by that design. Whether we'll like entirely redo that, I don't know yet. But we do, if it stays in that design, we do still want to have the 3-state doors. The current limitation with the existing door tech, and I saw someone moaning on Reddit about this today. Doors in Star Citizen have 2 states, open or closed. The Caterpillar doors, side doors, are doors, so they are closed or they're open, and it's just where that open state is. So we chose to move it all the way down to the ground to improve things. We can't currently add a 3rd interim state, so open, and keep it there.
Yeah.
We do want to have that state, but that, again, it's a feature. Anyone that's ever worked in games knows how horrendously complicated doors are. It's the big meme.
Doors and elevators.
Doors and elevators. And we can't use elevators or transit because they're essentially using platforms, which we could get them to rotate and translate, but you wouldn't be able to have all the synchronized animation for all the pistons on the side. That's why we have to use doors. And that's why we're stuck with 2 states.
Trying to think about how those patch notes would go off. We've added 8 elevators to your Caterpillar.
Yeah.
No! The deadliest ship in the verse.
And then the Kraken.
That being said, I can't remember the last time I had an elevator
how
accident.
The main entrance way
They
to
still
the cargo bay
happen,
is.
but I haven't
I
had
think
one.
it does have a lift on the
I
bottom.
think it just kind of tips on its side.
It just all falls out.
Drops everything off.
But we are going to be looking again at the Kraken concepts.
Hey, there's an idea. They could do like the 80s, 90s-ish lowrider thing with the hydraulics. The Caterpillar already has the feet that would kind of match. You just have to have little extensions in them. So to get your cargo in and out, instead of effing with the doors, which is apparently, a big blocker in the game world, just tilt the ship. Just like tilt the ship, release the cargo, and it falls out. I mean, that would be a sales point for the Caterpillar. That would be like the quickest way to unload your cargo. Just tilt the ship and let it slide out. And while it's tilted, I don't know. I guess you throw things up in there and then untilt it. I don't. I didn't think this through. It was just a spur of the moment thing. I just had a picture of yeah. Anyway, you would think it was cool if it played the lowrider music while it did it. That would make it extra cool. It has install a horn on the Caterpillar that plays lowrider, and then have the hydraulics go off and the cargo just slides out the side.
Soon, because hopefully towards the end of this year, it will be going into pre-production.
You just gave somebody a heart attack there. Towards the end of this year. Going into production.
Going into pre-production.
Not coming out this year.
Towards the end of this year, it will be going into...
will?
But we are going to be looking again at the Kraken concept soon.
Kraken.
Because hopefully towards the end of this year,
Release
it
the
will be
Kraken.
going into pre-production.
You just gave somebody a heart attack there. Towards the end of this year. Going into production.
Going into pre-production.
Not coming out this year. Read my lips. No new Kraken. Wow, that's a George H.W. Bush reference.
Wow.
I'm old. Can the Reclaimer... Oh, here's another fun one. Can the Reclaimer's rear cargo platform be adjusted to avoid blocking 8 SCU plus of cargo?
Again, another ship, knowing what we know today, would not exist in its current form. The Reclaimer's an interesting one. I'm aware of that issue. It's something, if I can find someone free to do it, but it's a snowball effect with the Reclaimer. Everything is, the way it was built back in the day is not conducive to quick and easy changes. It's sort of, you change that, you end up having to change a lot of the rear rooms. And this is an interesting quirk we found when we did the Hull C. So obviously the Hull C took forever to come out. We did a lot of the work 2017,
18,
and then we waited years for the features to be ready. And when we came back to it, the way we build ships now is different to then.
Oh yeah.
And the rooms we hadn't done, we did, and the two clashed visually significantly. So we sort of ended up having to downgrade the current art style and slightly up-res the old art style to make it not look so jarring, and the Reclaimer would suffer from the same thing. So in my opinion, if there's something quick and easy we can do, we'll do it. But that whole interior needs a complete, not redo, but reimagining.
Yeah. Newer citizens might not know, folks who have followed the project for 13 years would definitely be able to tell folks about how process and procedure have changed and evolved over the years. You know, the way we make anything in 2016 was not the way we were thinking about doing it in 2012. It's not the way that we learned to do it in 2020, and it's not the way that we've come to understand things in 2025. There's a reason we call it game development, not game construction. Drink. You said the thing, and whatnot. It's so many of these ships. I can't help but notice the Caterpillar, the Hull C, and everything. These are old Jim Martin ships who I love. Who was at the very beginning, along with Ryan Church, developing these things before we had things like metrics, before we understood all of our game mechanics and how they would actually function versus how we imagined they would function, and stuff like this. So yeah, I think we've started seeing, obviously we've started seeing Mark IIs and stuff with like the Hornets and stuff like this. And I imagine some ships will probably just get a Mark II and whatnot. Other ships like the Reclaimer, the Caterpillar, need some more TLC, need some more, time going back and fixing those things.
Yeah,
So that's a good question, Sabrina. I asked the same thing in my head. I just didn't stop it and say it out loud. But since you asked, I thought I would stop too. That is a good question. I kind of think it would, right? So based on what he said, if you were to reimagine the interior or reimagine the design in a today's world standard, I think the only alternative you're left with after that is a redo. Maybe you don't have to start from square one, but you have to look at the fat butt of that Reclaimer and change some things, right? It's hard for us to know all the things they're in the middle of right now, and it's difficult as a player, as a backer who loves a lot of these ships. It's difficult for us to understand. Well, then just do it. Like, why don't you do it? It's there. Just have the art team work on it this week. I would love to think it was that easy, but if it was that easy, we would have the BMM. We would have the Starliner. All of those things. So it obviously takes time that they don't want to take time off spending on other things, which is unfortunate because I would love for ships like that, even the Carrack, to get reimagined in the proper way, right?
The question that is starting to prop up more and more is what necessitates or drives the reason for a Mark II versus a just update the existing one. And really that comes down to, we can do a Mark II for something that functions, and we just want to sort of deprecate the visual style of it. The Hornets, for example, there's nothing wrong with the Mark I Hornets. We just wanted to have the cooler Mark II Hornets visually out there. But for things like the Reclaimer, if we made a Mark II Reclaimer, we've still got to make the Mark I Reclaimer actually function how it's supposed to function with the salvage mechanic. At which point, that's redoing a lot of it. So there won't be like a Mark II Reclaimer the amount of work will just be an updated Reclaimer.
So you know what? That visual effects similarity that you pointed out, I think that's perfect. I think I think for those of us who may feel frustration at times as to the progress of the game, if we would look back, if you haven't seen this documentary, by the way, I'm going to make a plug for Disney right now. The ILM stuff, the two miniseries on Disney about Industrial Light and Magic, really good watches. If you're into sci-fi stuff and the effects industry at all, they're really worth sitting down and binging if you haven't already. I'm assuming my audience, most of you have probably taken a look at this, but Sabrina's point is like a really good one. So much of that stuff was like, we need to do this, okay? And so I guess I'm sorry, I'm wandering. Let me try to rein it back in. What I'm trying to say is, so many of us get frustrated at why isn't this here? Why isn't this here? Right? But if you look, they even ILM back in the day, the horse did get put before the carriage, which is a complaint that I think a lot of us start to have about Star Citizen when you've backed it for 13 years. Why are they doing this? Why are they spending time on this? Why don't they just make that? The ILM example is great because the tech didn't exist the way we need to use it. So we have to build the blocks to build the features to build the thing, right? And ILM did that. They built a camera. They innovated and they still do constantly innovate. They even back in the day they even had to build the computers to process the crap to make the 3D effects that consequently later on became the basis of the entire Pixar sub franchise of movie making, right? They had to make these things, and it had to iterate before it could get to a point. And I know we're tired. 13 years, it's a game. A lot of us look at games that pop in and out in like 3 to 5 years, right? But this isn't that. This is innovative in a lot of ways that I think people forget. Yes, there are other games that have server meshing. Do they do the same thing as Star Citizen? No, they don't. They have multiple people on dynamic servers that scale for population and performance. Does that game do what Star Citizen does? Does it have to do that across server lines and non-transitional, non-load screen planet transitions? No. Anyway, I'm preaching to the choir. Most of y'all understand that, but I think a lot of us forget. And yes, Jim, absolutely. I remember all the original ILM stuff, man. I was there. I was absolutely there when we saw all that stuff come to fruition, motion control cams and all that cool shit. All that stuff they had to build from the ground up, man. It was an amazing time to be a child and stare at like the future with a sense of wonder, which consequently, it's so funny because like when you watch the ILM documentary stuff, you realize how visionary George Lucas was. He's a guy. Now, folks, don't hate me because I know there's not a lot of people have turned their hearts black about George Lucas for some reason, but this isn't going to make it better depending on how you feel about Chris Roberts. But they're very much the same kind of animals, right? They're creative forces out there whose vision seems bigger than what you can do. But I think Chris Roberts approaches things very much like George Lucas does. This is what I want. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to hire you. This is what I want. I know it doesn't exist. Figure it out. And he has the luxury to do that because we're crowdfunding the game, right? And I hope we continue to keep that in mind as we do that. Feel how you want about money grabs and things like that. These things take time and money, and it's so much different than any other game out there. Oh, dude, I would have cried myself. I would have absolutely cried myself, man. I remember when I saw them rebuilding the set of the Falcon when they started filming. I can't even remember on which film it was. It might have even been one of the ones in the most recent trilogy. And people got to look at the set. Me just seeing that in whatever documentary or television clip I saw, I was like, "This is the Millennium Falcon, man." cool shit.
Just a couple more questions, then we'll wrap up here. Modules are often expensive optional additions. Will modules for ships like the Galaxy be available for in-game currency upon release, so players aren't stuck with half-functional ships?
The modules, it's an interesting one. Part of it's an economy reason, part of it's a marketing reason, and part of it is
It's pledge law and stuff like this.
the Retaliator is really the only one that we've released with modules, and it sort of had an awkward. There was two ways to get a Retaliator over time. There was the original pledge, which it was a bomber. It wasn't modular.
Yeah.
And then there's the modular version. When that was announced, you couldn't get the bomber one anymore. So people were pledging for the base one with no modules. And then you opted into the modules after that. So when we came to deliver it, we had to deliver both of them. So there was a lot of people that had the bomber one as like a loaner ship for their one without it and were surprised that they didn't have anything. And the current rules set it's the same as any new ship, that it will be available in-game
after
X amount of time from its actual release. So
I know the amount of time right now. I just can't remember it specifically. I don't want to say the wrong thing right now, but it comes down to when there's, again, I'm not going to get into it, but there's general marketing stuff, and then there's actually some laws and crowdfunding and pledge that you have to deliver the thing to those people who paid money before you can give it to stuff like that and whatever. So I don't have to worry about that stuff, which is why I don't have the information.
And I don't know if it's the case right now, but the Retaliator modules, maybe they're not in the in-game shops. Yeah. Maybe there might be a technical reason why they're not in there. I genuinely don't know.
We'll look into that after.
But we can look into it.
Because some of those have been around for long enough now.
Those should have passed the date requirements.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can ship hull damage and breakage effects, as seen in Squadron 42, that's Maelstrom, be implemented in the PU?
Yes, that is the plan. Maelstrom is full speed ahead in Squadron. My team and a lot of other teams are working on it currently. I think they are about, at the time of recording, about, I'm going to say, 70% of the way through converting
that's more than I would have expected.
The ships required for Squadron
okay. That makes
to
more sense.
Maelstrom. So it's been built in a way that facilitates, we take the existing damage model that's in Star Citizen, press a few buttons. That's the Maelstrom version. It visually behaves the same, but it's using all the physical behaviors under the hood of it. That's converted to Maelstrom. That's the 70% quote. After that, Tech Art and Art can go in and chop it up more if they wish.
Make it better,
make
more
it
dynamic.
better, shinier, break into more parts, make it more believable. And that's been done on a case-by-case basis. So we're doing all the hero ships, all the ships you fly and fight the most are getting that first. So the actual fully Maelstromed conversion is a lot lower percentage. But overall, we're quite a long way through it. There's a lot of ships used in Squadron, but a lot of them are only used once. So they're just going to get the PU damage model ported to Maelstrom, done.
I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes. It was just a week or two ago when I messaged Sean about something or whatever, and Jesse looked at me. He's like, "I'm in Maelstrom hell. Can I get to it later?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. It's a whole new way of thinking about setup. Again, like you said just before, things we did years ago. In case of Maelstrom, things we did weeks ago is not how we need to do things going forwards.
But it's definitely underway in progress.
Yeah, and it all does genuinely work, and it behaves physically correctly, and you see the visual result. Like all those ships in the CitizenCon Squadron gameplay video, those were all Maelstrom, and they break up differently to how things do in the PU now.
So that's something another streamer was talking about earlier today. Dark Law, by the way, if he's somebody you haven't checked out or is outside of your purview, check him out sometime. He's a really cool cat. But he was running some combat missions like I'll be doing later today, and one of the things we noticed, and I think most of us who like space combat have noticed this. How many collisions have you had with a ship after you've killed it? Not necessarily like there are times where you're throttling towards something, but you may be side strafing slightly because you know the kill's coming, and that thing blows up, and you smash into it anyway, and you know you were throttling out of the way, and your head's playing that game with trajectories. It was going this way, I was going this way, I took it out. Why on earth did I collide? Most of us know this, but you collided because once that ship soft deaths, um, inertia stops. It like boop. It's moving this way. You blow it up. Boop. It's dead in space, like right there. So you often end up slamming into it because I think your brain is processing that it's going like this, and you shouldn't hit it, but it stopped. Um, I don't know if anybody's asked this before, but I think Maelstrom affects physics in general. So I think it's not just for how the parts are treated when they break apart, but I think it's a movement model for the entire thing. So once those pieces break apart and they become physicalized under the Maelstrom system, I believe they're still supposed to have weight and velocity to to continue to move. When you see it visually happen, when the ships explode or fall apart, it looks like that's what's happening. So I'm hoping that kind of fixes the little problem that we were talking about today. That every time you kill something, it just doesn't stop dead in front of you, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna hit it. Just an interesting thought in the back of my head. I'm hoping that that's the case. That Maelstrom will kind of fix that stuff.
Um, how is weight calculated, and what are its effects, such as ship overloading? We were just talking about that in.
Yeah, it's all related. There's two answers to this. Both are the correct answer, but it depends what project you're working on. So obviously in Squadron it's Maelstrom, and that does a lot of the work for you. So depending on the material you apply to the ship, or per parts of the ship, like you could have left wing be one material, right wing be another. You set the thickness of it. It calculates the surface area of that part based on the physics mesh of it. Does some clever maths for the thickness value provided, and then that part is that weight. So you apply a titanium wing, it's lighter than a steel wing, and it all just goes into the physics engine and just works TM. Star Citizen is different because we don't have Maelstrom, and that it's more designery numbered. And the process we've done for years is you take a rough volume of the ship, and 3ds Max calculates the volume of it, and we put it into an Excel that I made years ago. And that you take that volume, you take away the volume of the interior space, which is another mesh. That gives you a volume of the hull. You multiply that by a density value we decided, which has some plus and minus, very like plus 5% for Aegis because it's a combat manufacturer versus Origin, which is all high tech and carbon fibery, plasticky stuff. That gives you a mass for the entire ship, and you put that on the entire ship, and then the game engine goes, about 50% of the volume of this ship is this part, so I'm going to put 50% of that mass here. And that's why occasionally you see things behave oddly because the physics is misinterpreted. Maybe the asset has a slightly dodgy physics proxy and it thinks it's got 5% of the mass when it should have 50% of the mass, and it flies off into space, or the reverse. So again, that's the reason for having Maelstrom, is that those designer numbers go away to be created with ones that are actually fully derived from the assets themselves.
Well, look at there. They just kind of answered my question. Now, as it relates to that combat scenario, I still don't know the full answer there, but doesn't that sound like what we're talking about? The physics engine currently acts funny. John is actually saying it acts funny because, well, we've kind of guesstimated the system and put some guesstimated values in here, and then what's currently like in the PU version takes those rough guesstimated numbers and does some rough guesstimation, and it doesn't go so well. And this is something they've talked about in the past. The physics engine in the game currently can create lots of problems. There have been times where the physics engine has been the main culprit for frame loss, the main culprit for latency issues, over and over again. And now he's kind of showing, and I'm sure this is because of its age and how it was developed. Well, when they're going to plug Maelstrom in as the physics system to replace this, we should see like really, really huge leaps and improvements when that's ready to go. Once again, I sympathize. I'm with the rest of my backer friends. We had hoped that it would be farther along by now, but much like ILM, these folks are making a new wheel standard, not just plugging pieces into any old thing that half-ass works and then releasing it as a finished product in that manner. They're using that stuff to move things forward and try things, but it's not the overall vision yet, and we're getting there. We're getting there, pieces at a time. I still got plenty of time to wait. As long as it's not my grandkids that are playing like a future version of this before I am, I'll be okay. Damn it, I'm playing games till I go to the grave, so I got lots of time yet.
And it does impact flight.
Yeah.
In both games.
Consequently, that's not to say you need to take until I'm 80 to do this.
Weapons and components off your ship, you will fly slightly faster. The ships are quite heavy, so removing a 100-kilo gun off your 60-ton spaceship isn't going to move the needle that much, but it does. And cargo will impact it. It doesn't currently for any ship where the cargo grid is inside, because we're intentionally ignoring that at the moment. But for ships like the Hull C, Hull A, the Raft now, everyone's new favourite ship, if it's on the outside of a ship, it does account for that. So you will feel like if you've loaded your Raft up with gold, it's going to fly a lot slower and heavier than one that is empty.
Yeah. Well, when Maelstrom fully comes online, all these calculations are more accurate and reliable and stuff like this. I've always thought it would be cool that, you know, we got these folks like Atmo and like XGR and stuff that do the races of like to do a cargo race. Like you have to load up 200 tons of cargo, whatever. However you want to do it. You want to do it on the exterior, like whatever. But there has to be that much cargo in the ship and whatever, just to kind of affect the handling. What I'm watching, and you have to kit out your ship and swap out your components as necessary, you know, to help with it and stuff like this. And
chop bits off your ship to reduce the weight.
Yeah. Like maybe you clip a bit of your ship intentionally so that breaks off. It's like, I don't need that to go, and you pick up a little more speed and stuff like that. It's, you know, I'm always more interested in like the cannonball run style, anything you can do to turn a race on its head and make it more crazy, I suppose. Two more questions. I want to ask one. This actually isn't on the list. I'm going to add one.
Here we go.
I'm going to add one right now. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, in the PTU, folks saw some handling changes.
Yes.
To capital ships.
Yeah.
I think at that point it's only rolled out for the Polaris and whatnot. Yeah. Whether it goes to the 890 jump, I don't know the answer to that yet. But these handling changes, the Polaris has sort of been everywhere and everyone's enemy for a little bit. It's like we see the posts where people are like, oh, this would have been great if I didn't have to encounter a Polaris right there, because they're just too damn fast. Yeah. They're too damn fast. They're too damn zippy.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So talk to me about this change that we're making.
Yeah. So out of the box, the Polaris was too fast and too agile. We were a bit concerned about making it too slow as like the first proper military capital ship in the game, but we played it safe too far on the agility side now, and hopefully now what is live at the time people are watching this is a much slower. It's still, the Polaris in lore was a fast capital ship. It was supposed to be fast and agile, but that's relative
to other capital ships.
Other capitals. So
not to a Gladius.
Yeah, you're not going to be dogfighting Hornets in your Polaris. So we did slow it down pretty much in all aspects in terms of speed, boost, rotational rates and accelerations, and done the same across the other capital ships. So technically the only other capital ship is the 890. And the Reclaimer's is sort of weird. It wasn't a capital ship, but it now has capital items. But just we've gone back and looked at them all and made sure they're all.
It's also affecting the NPC Idrises.
NPC Idrises, yeah.
When people steal an Idris, now they're going to notice that it handles differently.
The same whenever an NPC Javelin turns up. They are all slower. They're not designed to be good in atmosphere. So hopefully all the sights of Polaris's nose down over mining craters should start disappearing, because bringing a capital ship into atmosphere needs to be a big event. This is a big commitment. You should be a sitting duck. Some of them can't even get back out of atmosphere unless they have dedicated VTOLs. So we just don't want to see these big ships everywhere. They should be big events when you come across them, not 10 a penny everywhere.
There's a line, if I remember, in the squadron script from the pilot of I can't remember if it's the Javelin or the Idris, where they're like, a fighter is supposed to be reactive, and a capital ship you're supposed to plan. You're supposed to plan every maneuver, 3 steps ahead and whatnot. And that's been in the squadron script since like 2015 when I was recorded. So I'm personally excited. I'm personally excited to see these things behave more like these giant fucking. Almost used my.
Beep, get the beep, live beep.
Hey, if you're translating it, when you're translating.
Nice. Nice. Jared was about to go for. I want to see them act like the big fucking ships that they are. I can do that. He caught himself. Oh my god, that is hilarious. And cool, by the way. This whole topic is really cool. So this is something the wife and I were talking about, kind of with the release of the Idris, right? We have concerns about the game stopping ability that these vehicles can have on other people's gameplay, right? And I just need to know that it's under control, that things aren't as intended. I thought it's ridiculous too. One of my fondest memories is when my buddy Dizzy got a Reclaimer in game and wanted to show it to me really quick. And he was coming into New Babbage, and we were on board already, and it was really cool. And we were coming into New Babbage to land. And most of you probably know how the end of the story went. It was coming down, it was coming down, it was coming down. The ground kept getting closer. We're like, Dizzy, are you stopping? And that thing just planted all 4 legs, and then it just crushed itself as it set down in New Babbage. That's how all of the capital ships should feel. It should take all of the thruster power that the Polaris or the Idris has available to be able to sit there in atmosphere and stay still and not impact on the ground. That's where all the thruster power should be. It should never be able to turn its nose down at the ground to point at ground targets and grief them, quite frankly. It just shouldn't be a possibility. It should take everything it's got to be able to stay there. And then seeing a Polaris or an Idris that close to the ground, even in the event that they can't point their nose guns at the ground and grief shit, if you find that should be like oh my god, I have you now. That should be that kind of moment, right? And they're definitely wanting to head that way, and slowing those things down is definitely going to help. Still not there, though, because we know that the VTOL and sinking in atmosphere isn't working the way it needs to yet, but it's coming, little bits at a time, again.
This, make it not a bad word. I'm excited to see them more lumbering and more imposing and more and more like a whale, like a whale in space, as opposed to.
I think there's other levers we're going to start pulling as well on them in terms of like fuel and insurance timers, because they are big events. Like if you're bringing one out, sure, you can use it as your daily driver. There will be downsides and consequences to that. if you don't protect it.
And of course, this is not the first set of changes. This won't be the last set of changes. These are just the next set of changes. The beautiful thing about Star Citizen and running a live environment in the middle of our development is that we get to try a thing and then let it go for a month and try a thing and let it go for a month. It's like this. With this new release cadence this year, we've already done 4 patches this year. We're about to do our 5th one by the time folks watch this, which is insane. We're not even halfway through the year yet. There'll be a lot more opportunities to
I'm still watching with you
something.
folks. I just got to take the headphones off for a second and holler at the
We have a
kiddo.
lot of ships in the game.
I'll have you all muted for a moment.
There's still a fair amount to come.
Yeah.
So it's always a delicate balancing act between balancing for the game we have now
And the game that
game we have in the future. Yeah. And sometimes we go a bit too close one way or the other. So you'll see things like, oh, this isn't that better than the others.
Yeah.
And then we have to do a realignment to spread out the range. Like we did a pass recently on the heavy fighters to sort of... This is all the F8 owners complaining about it. But to make space for there to be a slow, heavy, tanky one and a fast one relative for a heavy fighter, and gaps in there to slot other options in.
Yeah.
And it's the same across all of them. And that range is going to grow and contract as more ships get added in the game.
Yeah. I feel like Zoomy Polaris was us being just as excited to get it out as as players were, and let folks have fun with it in the But I feel like this change was always there.
Yeah,
it was always on the
It was
horizon.
always coming.
So
It was just a case of when we did it.
And as new flight characteristics, I know the one starts with J. I keep wanting to say Juke. It's not Juke.
Jerk.
Jerk.
Yeah.
Yes. As Jerk comes online, so like this, that'll change how
Jerk and control surfaces will change the landscape again for flight.
So it just I want to caution people against doom and gloom. When you see these changes come out 1 month, remember there's still work being done. Jerk and control services, and the new almost monthly cadence of releases this entire year means that we get opportunities to try something and try something and try something and try something.
Yeah.
So. Last question before I'll let you go here.
Cool, folks. Just had to touch base with the
We've got a
little
lot
one
of good
there.
information. This episode is obviously going to the members of our Chinese community, to those big events that I've never been invited to. Tyler, I want to go.
He'll be standing right next to me. Come find me, and that'll be Tyler Whitkin.
We're gonna release this to the public sometime during Invictus and whatnot, because it's everybody deserves to have the information. We're giving these questions came from the Chinese community. We're gonna give them their first shot at seeing them and stuff like that. It was a nice little thing we can do. I want to ask you about the ships that are coming this year. Well, we've got a lot of good information here.
Howdy,
I want something
Firefly.
that folks aren't expecting. Can you tell me, just name for me, one ship that's coming this year that folks might not know about?
So go for the RSI Meteor.
The RSI Meteor. What is?
What is it?
I'm just.
Show it punches above its weight. Get another drinking.
RSI Meteor just drops a Macho Man elbow from the top rope down. All right, cool. The RSI Meteor.
Yeah.
So look forward to that at some point later this year, and I want to see the Reddit thread where people are wondering I want to see what they can evoke from the name and manufacturer alone, and see who's right. So yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. This has been Star Citizen Not So Live with John Crew. And of course, if you're watching it a little bit later during Invictus, we hope you found the show informative and delightful, as John Crew always is. You want to go spend some time with your puppet? You haven't visited your puppet.
I haven't visited. Shall I go get my puppet?
You want to go get it right now?
I'll go get it right now.
Go ahead. You've ignored him. You've had your child since November of last year, and you've done nothing with him. You don't visit. You certainly don't send alimony or anything. It's. Oh, there you go. They brought you back. Oh, now you're.
We'll go back to.
Okay.
This is just as awkward as it is.
Well, John, you are many things. You are not a puppeteer.
No. Got to find where my mouth is inside it.
I know where his mouth.
There we go.
There you go. Right. Say something John Crew would never say.
I hate Drake ships.
I don't think that
What do you
that
think?
quite fits the mandate. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next week for, I don't know when this airs, with public. We'll see you for another show. There's always another show. Bye, everybody. All right. Thanks.
I think I need a puppet. I want to be that Twitch streamer guy with the puppet. But I believe there's actually like ventriloquist people out there, like legit ventriloquist people out there on Twitch. I think I remember watching some girl that's not too bad. No, I'm a dummy. That's right. Jim's got it figured out. I am the dummy. Oh crap! I know you meant the phrase the way it was intended, but whenever I see that phrase now, that damn
When you
song
write,
gets in my
your
head.
tone influences.
All right, folks, it's time for some PU action. Oh, Spearheaded Micro sent me a request, and I did not accept it, and I think I still did not accept it. We'll see if we can find it in game. So, we're gonna go do some combat missions, some of the new ones. See if we can pick up some script as we do that. We might even pick up the PU. We might even pick up the Hunt the Polaris mission. And see what comes of that. I've got that completed once. I didn't get the cash for it. I just got the script and the captain's chair. Which, by the way, I think that in addition to the floor sweeper that they've teased us with many times, I think we need to have like a steam machine to clean furniture with, because I'm pretty sure the blood and crap stains from the previous captain of the Polaris are all over that chair. And kind of like Eddie in Christmas Vacation. I'm starting to think if I fumigate it, it's still got some years left in it, right? That's a high quality item there, Clark. If you don't mind me asking, how much that sets you back? Oh, that's a great movie. Great movie. All right, PU, here we are. Everything appears to be operating as we've come to expect. If anybody's looking for a pick-me-up about Star Citizen today, just think back 2 or 3 years ago at how the game was performing and how many disconnects we had and 30Ks and losing your cargo and all that stuff. I know things aren't perfect today. There's still a lot of work to be done, but man, look at the nearly stable-ass environment we're working in now. It is a far cry from where it was. Folks, the game is making progress. Again, I know a lot of my regular viewers are of the same opinion. I'm preaching to the choir here, but if you're new and you hear a lot of the negative opinions, I'm just here to assure you, as a Star Citizen lover who gets nothing from CIG in any way, shape, or form, look at this thing. The game is what it is. It's coming along. It's fun to play. We log in daily and do things. Whoop. Nice jump. Oh. Would I have made it if I want the inside lane? Probably not. There were PU days once upon a time where if you had been running in the general direction of those doors and you stopped when the shuttle took off, by the time the system caught up and latency was where you were at, you went through those doors and were falling down to the pavement. Hello, pleb. How are you, buddy? How are you? 07s to you, my man. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Working away. We just finished watching. We just finished watching the SCL stuff from Beijing last week, in its official released form to the rest of us. I still enjoyed watching it. It made for some good conversations in there. If anyone can do it, Jim can do it. Jim, there's like 3 or 4 Idrises on your list, buddy. It's in the post. Is that all of ours or just pleb? I'd like to see the mailman deliver that. It is pretty big, so it's not like you needed my actual address. Just TX Sunday or DM Sundevil, care of Canada. They'll get it here. It comes in. It might. So once you get your Idris and cut the packaging off, you have to give it 24 hours to for the air to fully re-enter the system and be usable. Oh, cardboard pop-outs. I am playing on the server that Salty Mike was playing on earlier today. Because there is the Pisces that, yeah. Hilarious. Hilarious. So what I like to do right now where the Idris is concerned, I like to pretend that my wife said I could get one. And it's the game's fault because of getting one in a cart and actually checking out and purchasing it is impossible. So I'd like to stick with the story that Sabrina said I could have one, but I wasn't able to buy it. Oh, here's the captain. Yesterday, guys, the stream cut out early. If I didn't just drop you for the hell of it, I know you guys probably figured that out. Don't know why. Twitch interrupted me twice yesterday, and I never lost connection at home, so it had to have been Twitch side. But when that happened, I was talking about this is as close to a Polaris as I'm going to get. But then I started thinking about it. Look at this thing. I'm pretty sure you can see where we killed the guy. Right? Oh, I can get a javelin. Did Pooks get one in the cart? Or did he buy the $13,000 all ages pack? I know he's loaded. Sabrina wants the Galaxy, buddy. I can get the javelin. I can get the javelin. I just need 12K. 12K and I'll get the javelin, the Idris, and every Aegis ship. Super simple. I just need somebody to tell me to pull the trigger. I will wait here in my captain's chair for the okay. All right, I'm ready, Sabrina. Just tell me engage. Tell me engage and I will be on the store so fast. We'll be flying an Idris in 12 minutes and waiting on our javelin 12 years from now. All right, well, you heard it, folks. She basically said yes, but the credit card won't let us. So, I don't know what that means, but there you go. You heard it here first. Deal. Deal. Pleb, deal. Absolute deal. I will literally put it down now and never pick it up again. Never. And because, you know, mods cost money, I will find a bum, or I could just send it to Pleb. That's kind of the same thing, right? I'm kidding, dude. You know that. We just poke at each other because you were poking at Jim, and anyway. Starting now. What? No, I need... This is a give thing. And also I Oh, I'm thinking about it. I know it's right there. No, that's part of the stipulation. If I put the vape down, I have to, I can't be crabby about it. Right? Right, Pleb? Tell her that's part of the deal. But unfortunately, the only way that I'm going to get an Idris is with that 12K package, because there is no way. How many waves are left, folks? There are still waves left. When is the next one? There's like no way. I couldn't do it. Oh crap! I sat in that, and we never cleaned it off. Oh man, got like dead commander stuff on my backside. Oh well. Let's find us a ship.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
I think we were in a lightning sort of place right now. Pleb, you are my man. You are saving me from saying the things that I'd get in trouble for saying. I can just agree with you.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location.
Food, you know, Canada is a little more progressive than the U.S. They can eat. We have neighbors that grow vegetables in their yard down the street, and we do the same. So, I mean, food isn't far away. You just stroll by and pick up a cucumber. We should be fine. We should be fine. 55-cent dehydrated ramen and cucumbers from the neighbor's yard. We should be good.
Please visit us again.
Let's see. What can we find here? What do we need to do? Foxwell. Okay, we need to go finish off this hammerhead, actually, is what we need to do. But we can do the other Merc missions instead. But which ones are those? I'm confused. We still didn't do Happy Invictus. I should go get my free 50K. Look at that. I don't have the bounties are gone. They're not showing up. That's beautiful. I should probably go pop some of these just to re-get them real quick. Why are they okay. Yeah, let's get those certs out and done. Actually, I don't think you need to because it still pops the missions, right? But you also get paid, so that's essentially a 70K bounty, right? We can do the VHRT. You know what? Maybe we better take a big ship for these. Yeah, big ship. I can do the VHRT in the Lightning, can't I? It depends what's out there. I'm so torn.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
Let's just take the Corsair instead and blast them out of the sky. Which again translates to me driving a slow ship and getting the crap kicked out of me.
Your vehicle has been moved to our storage facility.
Oh. That one needs to be claimed, so we will take the Constellation instead. That should do the trick, though. Size 5s for the win.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location. Please visit us again. Goodbye.
Get rid of that. I thought I traded this paint out for the Finding Nemo paint. I like Stormbringer. It's cool. Gotta put the table up for good luck. There we go. I really wasn't with it today, so I don't have voice attack up. I don't have my IR running. I have to do things kind of old school here. I think we'll be fine. I know where all the buttons are. Yeah, that should be fine.
Take off approaches. Landing gear raised.
Oh, did I not even get that? Well, what a crock of crap. Are we good now? Sure we are. That's nice, just a quick trip to Walla. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. See? No loss of frames. They're going to wash it up for me. That's the detail shop taking my Idris to the cleaners. inside? I hope so. Oh, it was the Polaris, not the Idris. I haven't killed an Idris yet, and I did not make a mess in the last Idris I was in. I followed you around. Yeah, that's a Polaris's captain chair. I said I wouldn't own one of those. I didn't know that all I had to do was quit vaping. I haven't touched it since the conversation. It's right there, though, staring at me. What was terrible about this is I was having a funny, witty rant going on there, and usually when I do stuff like that, I'm over here like chain vaping the whole time. So I picked a really bad time to just set it down. Don't think about it. Now let's hope for the best. This apparently is it on the surface? Yeah, it's the wreckage on Walla. Let's hope we get to the light side. Because me in a Constellation and a VHRT, even just the tracker license this close to the ground, that spells, oh, this is gonna be bad. Well, at least we know to approach like this. Keep that in sight. All right, we got a Reclaimer, a Starfarer, and what the F is that? Is that a Valk? That's a Valk. So we might need to neutralize the Valk. We're gonna die anyway, so we might fill her full of missiles. That Reclaimer is using shock and awe tactics here. All right. Get out of there. Let them shields come back. Be smart. Be smart. Okay, we don't care about the Starfarer, but it is like right there. He chased me quite a ways, didn't he? Am I getting pegged from the surface? No. Yeah. guess. Maybe. I don't know.
Target acquired. Target acquired.
Oh, there's...
Target acquired. Shields damaged.
There's a second valve. That's what's causing me issues. We'll get rid of that guy. Come on, get him, get him.
Shields damaged. Enemy down.
Now we should be all right.
Target acquired. Shields
Lights on. Oh, I don't... I don't have my voice assist. Oh, I've let that become a crutch, haven't I?
enemy down.
There we go. Well, that wasn't so bad. Except the missiles, I think, were just a waste.
Shields off.
Now, the ERTs should be arguably easier. They typically are. In my opinion. And away we go. Everybody got really quiet after the after the Idris for no vape conversation.
Quantum drive is now off. Quantum drive is now on.
Well, then don't I have to quit in good faith?
Quantum drive is now off.
No, I get to vape whenever. I'm just trying not to for the moment. I get to vape whenever I want because I know we can't do that. I should do it for my health, but that's silly. Wait. Oh, I have to go to the caterpillar, but I have to neutralize the hammerhead. Son of a bitch, I wasn't ready for this. Otherwise, I would have tried to sneak that hammerhead out of here. Oh, F you, F you, F you! Man, he chews through those shields fast. See if we can get out of here without taking damage. Nope, 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 nope. Other side. Alright. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.